What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Planet podcast. On today's episode, we'll go over all the major storylines that came out of the NFL's Week 2 and then look forward to the bigger matchups in Week 3. So, Alex, let's just get right into it. Start off with Thursday Night Football. The Packers defense shut down the Commanders offense. And obviously, they won the game 27-18. And the following day, we start seeing a little bit of not rumors, but the bigger storyline being, are the Packers the team to beat in the NFC? So, what do you think?
I think as of today, they absolutely are, and there's a couple reasons. And I know you're gonna make a valid argument for the Eagles to still be in that contention, but there's a lot of factors that play into it. So defensively, I was questioning the Packers from the beginning. I wasn't sure how they were going to do, if the addition of Micah Parsons made all the difference, if they'd be able to stop the run. They've absolutely done that. They completely nullified the Commanders this past week. And overall, like they made the Lions look silly. And as we saw this week, the Lions are very capable of putting the ball in the end zone. So for me, that was one of the big contention points. Offensively, you look at the Packers, people were kind of, unsure if Jordan Love was going to be that guy in terms of being a upper echelon quarterback. But in these first 2 weeks, he's absolutely done that. There's a stat that's, adjusted net yards per attempt. He's at 9.76. That's not per completion. It's per attempt. And on top of that, they've sustained two long 92-yard and 96-yard drives. And as we watched, if you guys watched Monday night, Chargers versus the Raiders in the second half, the Chargers went on like a 9-minute drive that completely, just put all the pressure on the Raiders. Yep. And when you can sustain those types of drives, eat up the clock, you really put all the pressure on the opposing team and you keep your defense rested. I think when you look at what Jordan Love's been doing, he's been efficient, he's been effective, he's made great throws. There's no true number one wide receiver on that team, but with what they're doing, they're able to spread it out. I mean, Tucker Kraft, like what a hell of a game he had last week. I think in terms of where we stand today, the offense is moving all cylinders. Defense is stopping everything, and Mike is only going to get more and more plays as the weeks go by. I absolutely think they are the team to beat as of today.
I mean, everybody has their opinions, all right? So if you had to ask me, I see where you're coming from, right? The argument, there's a reason why people are bringing up this question, because like for everything that you just mentioned, obviously Josh Jacobs is also a great fit for that offense. Micah Parsons has just elevated that defense to a whole nother level. But we also saw that Jayden Reed went out last week with an injury. So let's see how long he'll be out. And then like how you also said, like they don't have a true wide receiver one. So it's all like that could be also like a benefit to that could be a benefit for them, or that could also be something that kind of affects them later on because you don't know who you can rely on, right? So, but now focusing on the Eagles, obviously not. The Packers are not. The Packers are not the team to beat in the NFC. Last time I checked, the Eagles were the reigning Super Bowl champions. The Eagles beat the Packers. Obviously, it was last year, but we still pretty much have the best running back in Saquon Barkley. We have one of the better wide receiver duos in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Obviously, the offense is getting off to a little bit of a slow start, but that happened last year too. And then after the bye, they came out. They had a pretty bad game against the Browns after the bye. And after that, they just took off. So me as an Eagle fan, like they have another offensive coordinator for Jalen, and he's still finding a way to produce. Like obviously, like if you've been watching the games, there's not much that's been opening up downfield. So people will call him the check down merchant, this and that. But it's all like, would you rather him throw into double, triple coverage, or would you rather give him the quick check down to Saquon and let him do the work? It's like sometimes fans just want to see like, I don't know. Action. They just want to see like a deep shot downfield, try to get move them as fast as possible. But I mean, if you see Jalen Hurts play, obviously, if you're not an Eagle fan or that much of an NFL fan, you're like, man, anybody could be on this team, But he lets the game come to him. He truly doesn't care about stats, which I love. Like I feel like everyone on this Eagles team. Somebody might say A.J. Brown, might care, but who knows? But majority of the players truly do not care about stats as long as at the end of the day, they have the dub, right? And We also have the best O line still. We might have lost Mekhi Becton, but we already have Statland University ready to go. We already have the replacements, and then we might have also lost some people on defense, but we still got some dogs, man. We got Jordan Davis, we got Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. We also have Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship. It's like the list goes on. We might have lost a couple people, but we still have the majority of our defensive core. So while they may not have gone off to a great start, we're still 2-0, man. Like we just saw this past week, they beat the Chiefs even, and we'll get to the Chiefs in another later in the discussion.
Right.
But as for this discussion, are the Packers still the team? Are the Packers the team to beat now in the NFC? And all I'm gonna say is no. But if they truly want to keep asking this, we'll find out week 10 once the Eagles travel to Lambeau Field.
Oh yeah. I do want to touch on I 100% agree with you. Jalen Hurts isn't a stat guy. He's a let's win the game. And I think, like I told all my buddies when they said the Jets almost beat you, I said, what did we do? We won. And what is a win?
Yep.
A win. So
Win's
absolutely,
a win.
yeah. That Week 10 matchup is going to be a blast, and I will probably be at the Chargers Steelers Sunday night football game the day before. But I think because there was a video post game of AJ Brown really frustrated, but obviously not saying it out loud. He was being asked about like how does he feel about everything, and he's like, hey, I mean, we're winning games. The offense you can definitely critique, but we'll figure things out. And it's really funny because AJ Brown wants to just get the ball, be involved, but kudos to the way that the locker room is run for him to still hold his composure amidst this. I mean, I think I saw a stat that said Devontae Smith had 53% target share, which equated to 53 yards, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But if that's all it took to beat the Chiefs, who cares? You know what I mean? So I 100% agree. That Week 10 matchup is going to be a blast to watch. So we will see as the season continues.
I mean, they walked into Arrowhead. They silenced the Chiefs' kingdom. Obviously, we mentioned it. They won the Super Bowl rematch 20-17. So we saw, I'm sure anybody that's an NFL fan or a sports fan has seen this clip. So I'm sure you've seen it, but we'll go over it right now. So give me your thoughts once this is over.
Love it.
Oh my God. So just speaking of like how we said earlier, Jalen doesn't care about stats. Neither does Saquon, honestly, because I feel like a lot of that time, like whether it was last year or this year, he truly knew that his 2,000-yard rushing yard season last year, was truly a team effort. Every time he gave kudos to the O-line for blocking the whole way. He also gave kudos to the wide receivers for selling the run with their blocking as well. So it's all like we have a lot of team first players. But anything else you want to say before we move on to the Chiefs offense?
I will say in terms of the whole complaining that we're seeing, we saw Adam Schefter go on ESPN, which respectfully, I don't watch ESPN anymore for a number of reasons, but this is kind of one. Adam Schefter is like a mouthpiece for the owners because of, he's involved in that capacity, but there's all this conversation about the tush push and they're like, oh, the Chiefs are lining up like offsides, but if you look at those replays, so is the defense. So it's like, there's no reason to get rid of the play, but if there's one thing they could do is just put in an outline of how to line up for it so that both teams don't start cheating. Because one thing is, like the Eagles, they do sometimes line up offsides because they're trying to get in that little angle, but so does the defense. The defense cheats up. You look at like the turf view, both guys are offside. So it's like you guys are evenly trying to take advantage of the situation. But I love how like the Chargers ran the tush push, but the team was part of the teams that wanted to get rid of the tush push. So I think everybody let it go. Just go sign the rookie defensive tackle who's like 350 pounds for the Buccaneers. Actually, Steelers, go sign him. We need a lot of help up front. But like, you just got to load up. The game evolves. This is part of the evolution. Get big guys in the front and don't let the Eagles O-line bully you. It's the game. And it's not like
Yeah,
they're
man.
calling that on first and 10. You know what I mean? Like there's situational. So
Yeah.
beef up your defensive line and get creative. There's always a way to beat a play.
Well, yeah, like how you said, like obviously you see it every single play. Like Eagles, sure, they might be lining up offsides also, but you see it pretty much every single play. The guy's helmet is not only over the ball, but much like a lot of the times you're seeing it, they're literally touching helmets with the offensive linemen. So it's like, how is at that point? It's already what encroachment, right? So it's all like
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it's at that point, just let them play because regardless, somebody's gonna go offsides right away. And I at that point just let them play and call it a day. But
Yeah.
moving on from the Eagles to the Chiefs. So is the league no longer afraid of the Chiefs offense?
I mean, I think it is very fair to no longer fear that offense in terms of what they have. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but Xavier Worthy, I don't even know why they let him practice. Let that man rest. Like, let that torn labrum get back there. Travis Kelsey fucked that up. I look back, he absolutely ran his route incorrectly. But, um, and I mean, they have Tyquan Thornton, that is a New England reject. Respectfully, I don't no disrespect to him, but like, you know what I mean. He's not like your reliable deep threat. And they got Juju, and Juju's not exactly, he he's good, but he's not going to be a guy that you can depend on long term in the season. Hollywood Brown, he's kind of showing that he can get the balls, but also I think that's a lot of both Rice and Worthy not being there. I just think as a team, like the way they run the ball, I just think the way they're struggling to move the ball, it's just look. I think the Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid, they'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
as of today, there is nothing on the offense that I see where I'm encouraged outside of the fact that the Tom Brady effect, where like no matter who he had running at wide receiver, some white guy that
Yeah.
played lacrosse in college, shout out
Yeah.
Chris Hogan, like there's always a way to figure it out. I think the Chiefs will figure it out, but I think right now, I don't think teams are looking at them the way they're looking at the Packers or the Eagles or the Bills. I just think that
Yeah.
they're a lion with no teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, like and you touched on it, like that's what I was gonna mention as well. They're obviously missing their top receivers and Rasheed Rice and Xavier Worthy. I also feel like Pacheco hasn't really came back the same after he fractured his fibula last season. Man, he messed up my fantasy league, but that's another discussion. But so yeah, so now like literally Kelsey is Mahomes' only option aside from Hollywood Brown. But so like we saw him do well in week one, but that might have been because the Chargers weren't really scheming for him. They were scheming for Worthy and Kelsey, but now Worthy went out for like third play of the game because Kelsey decided to take him out because Taylor Swift said that she loved Xavier Worthy. I don't know. I don't know if
Exactly.
you saw that clip or not, but
It was an
so
inside
yeah, so
job.
yeah, so honestly, like I like how you mentioned that I truly believe that maybe they're just starting slow and later on Andy Reid and Mahomes will get together. They'll figure out a game plan how to get better, or maybe it just takes until Rasheed Rice comes back, and that'll really help open the middle for Kelsey as well. So this is just something to wait and see. But moving on, we also have major news obviously coming out. The Bengals losing their franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. So he's out for 3 months following his toe injury. He's due to get surgery, so that's why he's out. So do you believe that Cincinnati's season is over following Joe Burrow's injury?
It's gonna hurt me to say I don't think that they are necessarily that their season's over. I definitely think
Mm-hmm.
that now the pressure is on because, as we all know, this defense is paper mache for the most part. Even though they did very well against the Browns, but
Yeah.
it's the Browns. Um, but if Browning just needs to be going 6-6 and hope that Burrow comes back in December. But you're asking for a lot. But when you give a guy like Browning, he did serviceable. I think he went like 4-3 the last time that Burrow ended the season was a couple years ago. He was on my fantasy dynasty team. God bless him, and he's back on my team again. And I think he's capable of running this offense. They're just not going to be able to keep up with the defensive scoring. But there's so much when you have that kind of firepower on offense. Actually, let me retort that. Their running game is actually probably going to be that much more important. And Chase Brown, I think, is like 28 carries for like 97 yards, like something lower. Let me look it up. But
Yeah.
like their running game, Chase Brown was a godsend last season.
Mhm.
This season, he's definitely struggling. Is their season over? No. I definitely am not very confident in them. I wasn't confident in them to begin with, just because this defense isn't going to hold up. Like the guy that they signed, which was Trey Hendrickson, they got him on a big deal.
Mhm.
He was already on the team that had a shitty defense. So it's like you're kind of hoping that you can kind of scheme some more magic in here like they've had early this season. It's not over, but it's a very grim outlook for the rest of the season, like to put all that pressure on Browning. But they started off 2-0, and Baltimore and Pittsburgh are 1-1, so you at least have half a game of a breathing room.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. Yeah, like obviously Jake Browning had a great game coming in to back up Joe Burrow, but I see it being very difficult for them to sustain this every single week because now obviously teams will be scheming for Browning rather than Burrow, and like how you mentioned, that offense is terrible. Like aside from Hendrickson, so like if he doesn't get to the quarterback right away, the corner is gonna get burnt or something. Like just seeing their schedule, obviously being in the NFC North is already pretty tough. But then I was looking at the schedule. So while Burrow is out, we have them going at Denver, at Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Buffalo. They also host the Ravens and the Lions at home. So that's 6 games right there. That's like, do you truly see them winning a single game there? I I see them going 0-6 in those games. And that's not to say that the rest of the teams that they're playing are the bottom of the league, but they're also playing
0-7.
teams. Yeah, 0-7. Yeah,
Because
so they're also.
Pittsburgh's next.
I was about to mention. Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say they're also playing the Vikings this upcoming week. They have the Steelers on their schedule. Obviously, they have the Jets, who didn't look so good last week, but week 1 against the Steelers, they did look good. So we'll see. Maybe by the end of the time they played the Bears, maybe Caleb Williams has picked it up by then. They also played the Patriots. It's like so like pretty much every game that Joe Burrow will be out will be tough for them up until the final last 2 weeks or last 3 weeks when they play the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns. But by then, your season could be over if you can't win any of these games. So me personally, I just obviously you don't want to say their season's over because they still have 15 more weeks to play, 15 more weeks of play because they just started. So technically it's not over, but realistically, I don't see them making the playoffs.
And then fact check, Chase Brown had 37 carries for 90, so I gave him a 10 carry blessing, but he's averaging 2.4 yards a carry. They're going to have to get really creative. I mean, Jake Browning went 21 to 32, which is great. But like you said, it's so different when you come in the game and they don't have anything schemed for you necessarily. Mm-hmm. And now they know who you coming into the game, they know how to, attack your weaknesses. So I feel like, and this is granted just because of who they have on offense with Chase, Higgins, even Chase Brown out of the backfield. I think he's going to be a lot more involved now, catching out of the backfield just because, because they're going to blitz them. And then you have Noah Fant, who has surprisingly looked pretty solid early on. He already had 9 targets going in this far, and I thought Gesicki was going to be the starter. So I think they can pull off some upsets, but it's going to be an ugly part. I mean, the turf toe that Burrow got the Bengals really next season, there's no excuse. You got to put money into the O-line. He's already been sacked over 200 times in the time. I think the last record was like 160, 170 or something in the same amount of games he's had. So he's already been sacked 40 more times than before. So I don't know if everybody remembers the whole when they drafted Jamar Chase and they didn't get a tackle. There was a meme of like throwing it up there. Like that is the actual reality. That meme is real. Yeah. And long term, you're going to cut this guy's career short if you don't protect him. Let's see. So far, he's given up. He's had 5 sacks in a game and a half, which not a lot, ridiculous. But
I don't know. But for that offense,
considering what he's been through,
5 sacks in 1.5 games because he went out before halftime. So that didn't even give him the second half worth. So it's all like how you alluded to that meme. It's all like Joe Burrow throwing it to anybody, but Penei Sewell's there to protect him, or Joe Burrow just throwing it up to Chase as anybody, nobody is at his tackle. So I forgot to mention that earlier. Also, they have no O-line, so they have no defense. They have no O-line, so they literally just rely on freaking Chase, Higgins, and Brown to do something for them. So as long as you give up 40 points, it doesn't matter if you score 41. We saw that in week
Yeah.
1 with the Bills and the Ravens. But real quick, before we move on to the next subject, do you think the Bengals should trade for a quarterback or stick with Browning? Because I saw somebody mentioned Giants quarterback Jameis Winston and how fun that would be, because obviously they have no O-line, whatever, but he's not afraid to sling it. So he'll throw
Yeah.
freaking 3 picks a game, but he can also throw 4 touchdowns a game. And especially with Chase and Higgins, obviously they could stick with Browning if they're confident in him. But as a casual fan that isn't a Bengals fan, I would love to see Winston go to Cincinnati and just freaking throwing it up there for Chase and Higgins. What do you think?
I mean, I absolutely would love to see Jameis Winston with the Bengals with Chase and with Higgins and with Font and everybody else they got there. I just don't think the Giants would do it, only because, as you know, you're seeing the clips online of how he's coaching up players, like he's third string quarterback, and he's still so heavily involved with the team. I mean, he's had a really good PR campaign, because everybody forgets all the stuff he did in college, because they're treating him like he's the saint, which, not to put smut on anybody's name, but like, I don't think the Giants are going to trade him. I really don't. I would love it, fantasy wise and real life wise. That would make the defense being so shitty that much more fun, because he's going to get like 35, 40 plus attempts a game, and who doesn't miss 30 for 30 Jameis Winston
right?
from the Bucs,
Yeah,
so
that'd be fun every day. And then so another option I had seen was Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders. So now moving on to him, I wouldn't mind seeing him. Like, that's someone they could also look at. I don't see it happening, obviously. But moving on to Shedeur Sanders, a story came out over the weekend saying that he told the Ravens not to draft him. Was that a smart career move or not?
So I decided to look into just the statistical career arch of someone in that position, whether it be coming into a team with an established quarterback like your Lamars, your Brett Favre's with Jordan Love, you know what I mean? So, and I looked at players that went into tumultuous situations, like, if someone was to get drafted by, the Browns, let's just say that. Like,
yeah, let's just say that. Yeah, terrible situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you have guys like Patrick Mahomes who sat behind Alex Smith. And again, Alex Smith wasn't in that conversation, but, he spent his 1 year behind the bench, soaked up as much information. I think that's also beneficial. I know it's so against now, because everybody cares about what you're doing for me today. I've never seen so many Ashton Genty memes. Somebody said Ashton Genty is Eddie Lacy when he's not facing some FCS teams, which is hilarious. Because you know what I mean. Going into it, that he was the Michael Myers of running backs. Aaron Rodgers, who sat behind someone like Brett Favre. You know what I mean. And then like Tom Brady, who was behind Bledsoe. And then you have players like
Rodgers.
Love behind Rodgers. And then you have players like Josh Rosen, who ended up going to the Cardinals when they were at their most tumultuous. And we all know how that ended up. Even though he had the illest, like, I'm going to make all those teams regret drafting me.
Yeah, there was 9 regrets in front of him or something like that. Yeah, about 9 mistakes.
I'm going to break it down from each side. So if he was to go sit behind Lamar, I think Lamar would accept him with open arms, take him under his wing, help him kind of sharpen his game a bit, because there's a lot of things of Shedeur's game that I think wouldn't be ready for like first string defenses. Not yet. I think he's capable of it. I don't think he's necessarily someone I'd rate as like he's going to be like a top 5 quarterback off what I saw in college and, what we're seeing now, or what we saw in the preseason, which again, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably would have been very beneficial to him. But I also think a clear path to playing reps is probably, I think he knows going in with how people talked about him and his character. I think he knew that he wasn't really going to have very many opportunities if he didn't hit it on the first one. So I feel like him getting himself to the Browns was the most realistic chance for him to get playing time and hopefully with his play shut the talk down. It just it just sucks that it's Cleveland and they're just so dysfunctional. I mean, Myles Garrett didn't want Baker Mayfield as quarterback, low key, and now Baker Mayfield just led the Bucs to a comeback against the Texans like last minute. So it's like, when you're in those environments, it's like what I said last week about Bryce Young. You're on a team that you don't have a lot of pieces around there. I don't think Shedeur is capable of carrying a team. especially like one as dysfunctional as the Browns. So
Yeah.
for me, in terms of his career path, I think this was the best choice for him. I think he knew he had limited choices. If he didn't have all the hate that people threw on, whether it be for his father or his antics on the field and pre-draft, I think he would have absolutely been better off going with the Ravens. But I think in terms of his career arc as it's at now, Browns was the best way to go. It's just statistically having a long career is not you're going against the grain there. But if you believe in yourself, bet on yourself. So kudos to him for getting himself an opportunity to get some playing time.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I see where you're coming from, but I feel like in those situations when the players were sitting behind somebody else, that would have been like, obviously, Lamar's still a younger quarterback. He's a two-time MVP, could easily win another one this year. So with the other quarterbacks like Mahomes and Alex Smith, or Rodgers with Favre, or Jordan Love with Rodgers, they drafted them knowing that the quarterback was almost done or probably going to be shipped off. So I feel like if Shador would have gone to the Ravens, there's like, okay, he's literally going there and it's a dead end because there's no way Lamar Jackson's coming off the field.
No,
because like it's not like he's anywhere near the end of his career. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. But so that's the only thing I could see different from where you're coming from, because there's absolutely no plans of playing Shador if Lamar is still there, obviously. So for me personally, I'm not mad at all, because everybody's gonna hate on Sanders and say, "Oh, he has such a big ego, this and that. It's all his dad's fault." Like, it's like people are gonna find a reason to hate just to hate. But if he wants to play sooner than later, so going to Baltimore, which is gonna be terrible, considering that he was towards the end of the draft, obviously I believe 5th round or something like that. So they were supposed to pick him 3 picks before the Browns traded up to pick him. But obviously he was just going to sit there on the bench unless Lamar got hurt, or it was like a major blowout, like where they don't want to risk Lamar getting hurt. So like while Cleveland is nowhere near Baltimore, this was definitely the better position for him to get playing time, because let's say down the road, I can't remember off the top of my head if it's a 2 or 3 year contract that like a later round draft pick gets. So they just say 2 or 3 years down the road, he still hasn't played a single snap. No one's going to want him, or they're going to devalue him so much just because he truly doesn't have that many on-field snaps, So like, whereas if he can outperform his contract right now, he'll set himself up later on once his rookie deal is done. And I know you're already there typing it. So what's the answer?
So he got a 4-year, $4.6 million deal. And I didn't know this, but there's a prime equity clause because of the Sanders name that Dion makes money off, the Sanders name a little bit, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And I will say, I think also what plays into it too is Rodgers, Mahomes were 1st-round picks. So the team invested money and draft capital. So you're locked in for the future. When you're a 5th-round pick, let's look at Joe Milton. Everybody was in love with him on the Patriots for a strong arm. He got traded to Dallas. I know we all joke about Dak being ass or whatever, but is he closer to a starting job? Yes. Is it reachable? No, not yet. So so his draft. He was drafted in the 5th round. So the fact they gave him a 4-year deal is kudos to him for.
I was surprised. That's why. Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with prime. Also the Browns had to give a Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract to get him to go over there. You know what I mean? So it's like the Browns got to overpay to get talent there, unfortunately for them. So yeah, it was the best decision for him. I just think he definitely they need to bring in a veteran quarterback. Joe Flacco's there, but more people to help him up his game, because I feel like there's certain things that I think, Aaron Rodgers picked up from Favre, Love picked up from Rodgers, Rudolph picked up from Roethlisberger. I'm just kidding. And there's things that you get from someone that looks at the game and the game slows down for them. There's certain key things you can pick up from just being in the film room with them, being around them, and seeing how they handle themselves as leader of a team. Kenny Pickett probably got so much from being under Jalen Hurts that 1 year in Philadelphia, watching how Jalen, how he maneuvers through team meetings and all those things. So all those play into it. But like I said, I think draft capital, where he ended up, it's probably the best for his career with how much the Sanders name or his name got dragged in the draft process.
Yep, you got that guaranteed deal, just like Bronny James got with the Lakers. They might say it's daddy got it for you, but who knows? That doesn't matter. I'm okay with it. Uh, moving on to next week. Moving on to next week's our top games of the week. So we're starting off with Thursday Night Football, Dolphins at Bills. I feel like this one is one of our top games of the week, not because we expect it to be a back and forth or back and forth matchup, but because of what is happening down in Miami. If obviously they just lost this past week to the Patriots, now they're going up to Buffalo to play the Bills on a primetime matchup. If they start 0-3, will they leave Mike McDaniels and their GM up there in Buffalo? What do you think?
I think they gave him one more week. But I will say his comments in the presser after last week's game, like if you play to lose, you lose the game. If you play to win, you win. Or something along like a very rudimentary type of thing. He just looks defeated. He looks completely defeated. Tyreek Hill's jumping up and down. Like he's obviously not upset. He's obviously very upset. Tua telling Hill and Waddle to like not run as deep or whatever he said in his post-game presser. Like there's so much negativity around that team. I think they're going to lose the next two games. Let me just look at their schedule really quick. But last week was the week for McDaniels to save his job against the Patriots. They had every opportunity to do it. I mean, to get a punt return touchdown and the momentum shift that happens with that, and then to give up a kick return touchdown is like that team is defeated. So they got the Jets after that. If they lose to the Jets, especially if the Jets have a backup quarterback, because I think Fields has either an ankle or it's ankle, right?
No, he's currently in concussion protocol.
If he's out because of his concussion and they lose to a backup quarterback, I think by week 4 he's done. I think he gets one more week after Buffalo because I don't think anyone in that building thinks they're beating Buffalo.
No.
But my prediction is looking great. I said Mike McDaniels was going to be the first head coach fired. And I said they were going to be in position to draft number 1, which Arch Manning's not coming out, but he's dealing with a shoulder injury that they're not talking about in Texas, so I don't even know if you want to touch him right now. But I think McDaniel's job is safe for one more week, and I think he's canned by week 4, week 5.
He has a long weekend to think about him getting fired next week. And why are you preying on his downfall, Alex? Come on, man.
What?
But I'm like, why are you preying on his downfall? You want Mike McDaniels to get fired. But someone that is preying on somebody else's downfall, Jared Verse and the Rams are coming to Philly in another playoff matchup. Obviously, so we got that as our second game of the week. Rams at Eagles. Obviously, they had the snow game during the NFC divisional matchup. That was probably the one game where I was not scared, but I was at the edge of my seat. Like that little meme where it's like, okay, now you're like, that was me. Like during that game, my heart was beating. Like the weather crazy. It's all like, I can't wait for this matchup again because obviously Jared Verse was getting into it with like some fans, and then he obviously calmed down once he saw the big boy Jalen Carter come around. He's like, "Boy, you don't want to do that, you know that." So it's all like, I'm just excited to see this game just because of, not that I'm like afraid or any of the Rams or anything, but can't wait to see Saquon go off for another 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then maybe we can shut up Jared Verse again.
Yeah, I feel like this game's really, really going to come down to the offenses, and this is like that game for the Eagles to just shut up everybody about the offense and like, hey, we'll do enough to win, and that's all that matters. Because the Rams are going to, Puka Nacua is gonna do work regardless of who's on him. It's just he's just that good. Devontae Adams got really involved this past week, which is encouraging to keep your 2 top guys involved. I think it's going to come down to the Eagles getting that offense going, because I feel like there's going to be some points on the board. Things going to be like 24-27. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to who can convert those third downs, and hopefully this is one of those games where the Eagles put up the offense, so everybody lays off the whole concern about the offensive production. So I think it's going to be a close game.
I'm looking forward to that one. But another game that we have highlighted as well, the Denver Broncos heading to SoFi, play the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, this is the Broncos. The defense didn't look so good against Danny Dimes last week, but obviously that the Broncos defense is one of the better units in the league. So how do you think they'll match up with a high-powered offense from the Chargers?
Before I answer, we're going to clarify something. He's no longer Danny Dimes. He's Indiana Jones. I saw them
I
post
saw
it,
that
and I
one.
was like, that is awesome. So he's
Yeah.
Indiana Jones to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, yeah, I was very disappointed with the Broncos defense. Surtain was getting cooked all game. So I know there's a lot of talk about how at the end of the game there was a lot of calls that kind of went the Colts' way. But when your best corner is giving up 6 receptions on 7 targets for like 93 yards, like it's going to be hard to win that game regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think we see that from the Broncos again. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. It's all going to come down to Bo Nix because between the play calling and just Bo Nix doing some weird shit, like I think that'll be the difference between them keeping up. Because I think the Broncos defense is more than capable of attempting to pitch a shutout. I don't think they will. I think the Chargers offense, their passing offense looks fantastic, which is good because they have not been able to run the ball. So I think, it's really going to come down to, can Bo Nix, cut out some of these errors? Can Sean Payton maximize his players? Shout out Troy Franklin for having 2 solid weeks after, kind of being on the back burner to Mims and everybody else. But yeah, no, by the way, shout out Derwin James. He sacked Geno Smith going up against a 6'6", 300-pound lineman. Like, when you got players like that on your team, like, it's like who is it? Gardner Johnson. Like, he is so much fun to watch. Jalen Ramsey. You love those players that are just dogs. Yeah. So it'll all come down to Bo Nix. Can he limit the errors, and can Sean Payton call some goddamn good plays?
I think I saw somebody say, I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned that, like, who's the hardest hitting player in the league, and they were like Derwin James. We saw that, I believe, last year when he freaking picked up Kelsey and just choke slammed him after. Moving on to the final game, I feel like this is another great matchup, probably my second favorite game behind the Eagles and Rams. Lions at Ravens. We have the 2 offensive juggernauts going at it to close out week 3 on Monday Night Football. This game, I really hope it is one of those offensive back and forth, because both offenses can do that. The fact that the over-under is set at 52.5 is, I thought it was going to be higher, honestly, but that's perfect for anybody that wants to place a bet, plays a parlay. Always gamble responsibly.
Or not.
What do you have? Or not? Just do whatever you want. Just don't blame us. We're not legally responsible for any bets you may place. But
be sure to look at our prize picks before Sunday.
Yep. So what do you think about this game?
Oh, it's going to come down to the defense. Who can make that last stop to save the game? And kudos to Aiden Hutchinson getting his first sack last week. Week 1, he was definitely, that injury, that knee injury he sustained last year is not something easy to come back from. They need him to be, ramping up to be the disruptor that he can be. It's going to come down to whatever defense can make a play. So that's all it's going to take. I feel like both these teams, like, I know the Lions absolutely just hosed the Bears. They could have stopped scoring, but they didn't. They're like, Ben Johnson, you left. We're going to prove we can score without you. They absolutely did that. It's going to be a fun game. There's going to be fireworks, and it's going to come down to someone making a 3rd down stop or a 4th down stop or a game-sealing interception. But we got a lot of fantasy excitement for anybody who has Ravens and Lions players this week.
Yeah, most definitely. That's how, I'm really looking forward to this one. But I mean, that's all we have for this episode. Anything you want to say before we take off?
Be sure to look out for our Prize Picks plays. We'll be doing that, and then also look at our weekly pick'ems. Off to a nice start. Let's see if Brandon can close the gap this week.
Yeah, it's like it's only like 3 games. It's okay. We're going into week 3. I'm just gonna, whenever you send me your picks, and if we have the same ones, I'm just switching them. So we low-key have the same picks, but I'm like, we can't be dead even this every time. So I make it a little interesting, guys. So it's all good. All right. But that's all for this episode. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on social media at Sports Planet Pod. And don't forget, new episodes drop every Wednesday morning. So that's it. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Sports Planet Podcast.